How did they find where you lived? If you didn't tell them, was it on your driver's license?
It must have been on paperwork or phone records or something. I don't know. I can't remember. But it took them a while. But they got there eventually.
So go ahead. So they get there. She didn't clean up, so they got all that stuff that I listed.
Yeah. So they get all that, and at this point, the police are thinking, "Wow, this is like a major deal." They've connected me to some major crime families in London by this point. Obviously, I forgot to mention the guys that I was working with, the ones like the musician and his crew that were bringing it in by yacht. They all got busted. Well, not the musician, but all the people that were bringing it in. They all got busted in 1998. Me and the musician, the guy I mentioned earlier, my supplier, we were sat waiting for them at Marble Arch, and the guy didn't turn up. Friday night, London, and he had basically what had happened was he was dealing with a Libyan or Lebanese diplomat. The diplomat had been arrested by the local police somehow with like 29 kilos that our guy had given him on credit. So the local police have put pressure on this diplomat. They said, "Look, if you don't give up your supplier, then we're going to make you. You're going to be in a big trouble." So the diplomat has set up our supplier, the guy that was on coming to meet us that Friday night. So he's taken the 29 kilos back to our guy and just basically thrown it at him. Said, "Oh, I don't want it now. I can't handle it. You've got to take it back." So our guy takes it back, just throws it in the boot of his car, and then he's on the way to us. The local police follow him, stop him half a mile from reaching us. 29 keys of coke in the boot of the car. He gets arrested, unbeknown to him. We don't know this has happened. So we're sat at Marble Arch in London, waiting. In the end, we realise something's wrong, so we leave. A day or two later, we find out he's been arrested half a mile from reaching us. So obviously at this point, this is in 1998, we, like the guy, my supplier, and me must have popped up in, the local police, unbeknown to them, had accidentally come across a big surveillance operation by like the National Crime Agency of England on this organisation, and messed up a whole big surveillance, like a 2-year-long operation or something. And without a shadow of a doubt, me and the guy that was supplying me must have been seen by the police that were doing the surveillance on this crew, bringing all the cocaine in. Because after that, it was 2 years after that my problem came in Gloucestershire when I got arrested at the Manor House. Well, not at the Manor House, but on the road to Cheltenham. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty sure that's when I popped up on the radar big time.
Do you believe that someone grasped on you in the car stop situation?
I never knew, but yeah, obviously, because 90% of arrests are intelligence led. So yeah, certainly someone did. So when that guy got arrested with 29 kilos of coke in the boot of his car, because the local police had fucked up this big surveillance operation, the National Crime Agency then decided to take all of the people out, like the rest of the main ones. They arrested 14 people all around Britain, most of them in London, seized 440 kilos in London and 660 on a fishing boat in Kerry, I think it was, in Ireland. So that was the end of that crew. Sorry?
God damn, 1,000 joints.
Yeah. So that was the end of that lot. And yeah, their case went on for ages. I think they were on remand for about 5 or 6 years. So going back to me, so I get arrested in 2000. When I got arrested, the police had already connected me to that mob, that were bringing in loads of coke by sailing boats. They then also connected me to a major crime family in London, in the north of London, like major crime family, as well as a couple of other big crews. So to the local police in my area, they thought I was, Mr. Big, even though I was only like 24 at the time of my arrest, long hair, longer than this, hippie raver, happy-go-lucky. And they were just like, wow, you're a major crim, you're connected to these people, that, and I was just like, no comment, don't know what you're talking about, all of that. But because of all of that, and because of some other shit that happened, a police officer got threatened with her life whilst I was in the police cells. So they had to put her in protective custody. And there was just a lot of crazy shit going on. And because of that, they put me as, category A high security prisoner, which was a nightmare. High security prison in any country is a horrible affair. So I go into Gloucester Prison. I'm the only potential category A prisoner in the whole prison. They put me on the second floor of A wing. I literally couldn't leave the cell. I wasn't allowed to talk to anyone. I couldn't have telephone cards in my possession. All my telephone calls were recorded. My visits were behind glass with a prison officer literally sat on my lap. All my letters photocopied and sent to the police. Strip search daily. Cell spin almost daily. I mean, it was really full on. They used to close the whole wing down to just take me to get my food. So they'd shut the whole wing down, get me out the cell, 2 officers in front, 2 behind, take me down to the hot plate, get my food, put me back in the cell, and that was it. I used to have to exercise on my own. It was full on, So
did they keep you in the cell 23 hours a day?
Oh yeah,
that type of thing.
Yeah, all of that. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you're in there.
So I'm in there. The security eased off after a while, but after about a year, things started to ease off a bit. Eventually, I get sentenced to 5 years, which was really lenient. I know. Anyway, that's what I got. First time offender, and So I get 5 years. I get transferred from there to what was a renowned prison in England on the Isle of Wight called Parkhurst. At the time, it was like a high security prison, a bit like what's the one on the island?
Rikers.
Yeah, or what's the other one? The famous one? Alcatraz.
Alcatraz.
Yeah, a bit like that. On a rock, an island. It was nicknamed Alcatraz of England.
Wow.
It used to be a real high security prison. It was renowned until I think there was only 1 or 2 escapes out of there. But anyway, I got sent there. I was, normally when you're in a prison, your security status goes gradually lower and lower and lower. Me, I went from Gloucester, which was sort of medium, up to Parkhurst. Did the rest of my some of the rest of my time there. And then to get released, they sent me off to another prison called Earlstoke back on the mainland, where I did the last, 4 or 5 months. Got released. And you can see all of this on YouTube, by the way. Whilst I was at Gloucester Prison, they filmed the first ever production of Banged Up, like a prison series in Britain. That was like the first ever series in a prison anywhere in Britain. Banged Up, and it was in Gloucester, and they did like a 6-part series. I'm in 4 of the episodes. It's on YouTube. Check it out.
Yeah. I caught some of it.
I'm really young in that. I look like I'm about 10.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. So keep my head down in prison. Steer clear of all drugs. Don't want to know. Whilst I'm in there, learn to paint and decorate. Like I said, my dad was a builder. So I decided to look, it's something to do, get you out of the cell. So managed to eventually get on a paint and decorating course, learn to do that. Where was I at? Oh yeah. So I get down to Parkhurst. All of my co-defendants, like the people that have been arrested with me, they eventually come into the prison. They get sentenced as well. So we all end up in Parkhurst on the Isle of Wight. And there's a 9/11 has just happened now. Or around then. And at this point, I see a lot of drug traffickers getting arrested inadvertently because of the heightened security at airports. There's heightened security at all the ports, airports, seaports. So there's shipments of drugs getting caught up in the heightened security. that normally would have just come straight through. Now they're getting stopped. Drug mules are getting stopped left, right, and centre. So I'm watching all this and I'm thinking, wow, the days of shipping cocaine in block form or powder form on the off chance that you can get it through a border are pretty well finished now, certainly into Britain or America or any sort of, first world country. Unless you've got the border force paid off or you're bribing someone or, all this corruption. That's a different story. So, going back to ideas for importing stuff, I started thinking, start reading up about ways of impregnating cocaine into clothing, soaking clothing in liquid cocaine, just bringing it in liquid, bringing it in, I don't know, soaked into paper, just basic forms of impregnation. And then I used to get a newspaper once a week on a Sunday, big national newspaper, lots of supplements. It would take me a week to read the newspaper, basically, because there's that many supplements. So anyway, I get this big newspaper, I'm reading it, and I come across this article about this shipment of cocaine that's been seized in a container. And the cocaine was impregnated into plastic garden patio sets, like the plastic white, chairs and tables that you get. And I was like, wow, that is pretty fucking cool. That is a really good way of bringing cocaine in. Because this is the time that they start bringing scanners into airports and ports. And I'm seeing all the security and it's just becoming so hard to import drugs. But this way of importing cocaine, this beats the scanners, it beats the X-ray, it beats the dogs, and it even beats the reactive test. And I'm like, wow, well, there's not much else that they can get it on unless someone talks. Unless someone goes, it's in there, which they must have done in this instance, because no one got arrested in that case that I knew of anyway. That, in the paper it said no one had been arrested, investigations ongoing, but they hadn't arrested anybody. And I was like, wow, that is the future of drug trafficking, or certainly cocaine, maybe heroin. So it really got me thinking. It lit a bulb in my head.